We're here with Heather Ray, candidate for the NDP, the federal party. Heather, thanks for joining us in studio.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Heather, I'm really delighted to have you here because with the election coming up, you're a new face for us anyway. You haven't been on any of our shows. I don't think you've run for political office. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your personal life, and your connection to Peterborough riding. As we understand, the riding is now Peterborough. And let our audience learn a little bit about you.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about myself. I'm nothing special. I'm born and raised in Peterborough. Warsaw.
That makes you special.
That makes me extra special. I grew up in Warsaw. I grew up on a beef farm. Born and raised in agriculture. Spent a lot of my days in 4-H and junior farmers. Also did a lot for the arts. I was musical. I was in theater. I was in Amnesty International, always thinking globally as I grew up, and found myself outside of the community for education. I went to Waterloo. I studied environmental resource management, went to Laurier, got my master's degree in international public policy, put myself through school. I'm really happy. I actually just paid off my student loans last month, so it only took 40 years.
So you have time to run for politics.
That's right. That's right. Now I don't have to hustle as hard. Yeah. But I'm currently a farmer. I was, I know Peterborough well. I have, attempted to leave, and it always draws me back. I think it's the water here that really calls me home. And I'm ready to set down my roots here in many different ways. I am a farmer at heart. I'm trying to start a small farming business in Warsaw, and I'm ready to set those roots.
And so Warsaw, speaking of water, there's a river that runs right
the Indian River. Yeah, you'll see me in my kayak on the Indian River during the summer. Yep. Almost every day. That's where you'll find me.
Warsaw, J. Murray Jones, a famous county politician from there, and that community seems to be growing. It has agriculture, but lots of young families seem to be setting up.
Yes, absolutely. Lots of new faces in the community, which I love to see. I have big roots there. My family names are some of the first settlers in that area. And so I take that responsibility for reconciliation really seriously, and for relationship building, and for thinking forward in our future for our future generations.
You mentioned farming is a vocation. With your very interesting background, environment and public policy, obviously that kind of leads to what you're doing today. But yeah, what got you helped you decide that you wanted to get involved in politics, and especially at this election?
Yeah, I always thought I was going to be on the other side of it. I went to school thinking I was going to be a bureaucrat. I was going to work for the government. I was going to be a public servant. And then I found myself in not-for-profit, working for the community, demonstrating new projects, new ideas, showing on-the-ground real impact for people and this community. And that's something I want to lean into and kind of merge. Those ideas of being a public servant in a different way this time as a politician, but bringing in those skills, that knowledge, that experience that I have in building positive on-the-ground impact, and bring that to Peterborough.
So, with the New Democrat Party, have you had involvement there? How did you come to be the candidate? Were you working closely with the party? Did you have friends? Or how did they find you and say, hey, we want you to run for this party in Peterborough?
Yeah, I've always held orange values, and I've been raised with orange values, even though I didn't know it. Now that I'm running, my father has been able to be more open with me about his own personal politics, and has shared with me that he, as a union person, and a worker, he's very much on the NDP's value sets. And I feel like that's something that really motivated me towards running, is really wanting to show that the NDP values are wide and deep and inclusive. And I feel like when we sit down and compare it, most of us align best with the NDP.
And it's a bit of a myth. If you're from a rural area, you're going to vote Conservative. Obviously, it's a wide variety of people with different political views and farmers, and especially if you're connected to a union with a job. And I'm assuming many farmers have to have a side job these days.
Absolutely. Over 50% of Canadian farmers have employment off the farm. It's very difficult, like any small business, to get up and rolling. And a lot of farmers we see going through succession, but even succession is struggling to be able to get those younger generations. So we're seeing a change in agriculture. We're seeing new farmers coming from perhaps more rural urban upbringings as opposed to rural
You're right.
upbringings.
Yes, yeah, the urban farmers. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we'll see a shift in something I'll always say is a farmer isn't a farmer isn't a farmer. There's a very different widespread breadth of what a farmer is. And many of us are seeing the on the ground impacts of climate change, see, our yields decreasing, the nutrition in our yields decreasing, and we want to see farming continue well into the future. We care a lot about the land that we work with, and we want to see it do well.
Well, it's critically important, and you're going to move from student loans to loans for that big. I'm going to say all is Chalmers, but I don't even know if they make tractors anymore. But that's your next big expense for a farm. I mean, it's not cheap to run a farm.
That's right.
I think you alluded to some things, some of the global issues that are of concern. But what is the most important issue for the NDP party and for you in this election?
Yeah, in this election, our most important issues are things that we're already hearing from people: affordability, climate change, threats to our sovereignty. These are top of mind for people and top of mind for the NDP. And I really feel like now is going to be the time where we need to lean in to those that are going to be up for the fight against billionaires. And that is what the NDP can do.
And that is, that's something we're dealing with south of the border and globally, looking at that great divide from people, that are very wealthy and people that aren't. And that middle class, we're always trying to promote the people that do most of the voting.
That's right.
It certainly can be a challenge. The interesting history with the NDP party, I'm repeating myself, the NDP, because party's in there. The NDP, Jamie Singh, your leader, had a coalition with the previous Liberal government. I think some people kind of forgot that, but it was a minority government. What's your best hope for this next government? We see the Conservatives and Liberals leading in the polls, and it's been like that forever for the NDP party, but you did have a role to play with this minority government, got some policy items in. What do you hope for the future, and what do you think you and under the leadership of Mr. Singh can do?
Yeah, great question. I feel like in my campaign, the type of leadership that I'm demonstrating that I will bring to the Peterborough riding is something that is creative, inclusive, and collaborative. And seeing the coalition that happened between the Liberals and the NDP just shows that the NDP is here for collaboration. And when we have these big, complex threats, and concerns, and fears, it's important that we're working together across party lines to put people first. And that's really what the NDP brings to the table. And that's what I bring to the table as your leader.
As you're going down the campaign trail, you're visiting people in rural areas, urban areas. You've got to do a lot of campaigning in the city. What do you think is the number one issue that the federal government can impact here in Peterborough, the city and its surrounding area?
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing from voters when I go door to door and when I have events and when people come together is that people are afraid for the future. People are just everything's so uncertain. And in uncertain times, it's easy to lean into the status quo. But right now, we need to be brave, and we need to stick to our values, and we need to put a strong front forward. And we can do that here in Peterborough. I think what's going to be really important through the chaos, through the uncertainty, is that we are represented to our best ability here in Peterborough, so that in Ottawa, Peterborough is being put as top of the priority list.
One of the big challenges we have in the region has to do with housing and homelessness. What can the NDP party do to influence some solutions that would help our communities? Yeah,
well, we already announced a change to policy that would allow more Crown land to be opened up to allow for 100,000 homes to be built right away. We're also pushing towards affordability, really wanting to push hard against those billionaires that are really asking for too much when workers and everyday families are struggling to just survive and get by. And so we really put a cap on groceries, essential grocery items, and put a full-time relief on the GST. And I think together, along with some other CRA tax implications that we will loosen up for working families, we'll save almost $1,500 a month.
Now, the campaign is just underway now. Are you actually out knocking on doors? Is that part? So some candidates don't do that anymore. They use social media and other ways, but are you hitting some doors, and what are you hearing there?
Absolutely. We are all about grassroots organizing. So we're hitting doors. We're providing education. We're going to get online with podcasts. We're getting online with social media. We're having community events in neighborhoods to bring people together. So you will see me at your door or a member of my team, which I'm so inspired by. Every day, somebody new is stepping forward saying, I want to be part of this. I want to help. and that's keeping me going.
Peterborough's always had strong commitment to many NDP party members here, even elected members way back. It's been a while since a member's been elected. But who is involved in your campaign? Who are some of the people that are helping you put your name forward for this election?
We have some big grassroots players. I like to joke that a lot of the members of our teams are neurospicy, which I really enjoy. So a lot of us are on the spectrum, my daughter included. We have 15-year-olds helping all the way to 80-year-olds helping, and everyone in between. We have people who are on ODSP who are struggling. We have workers who came by the office and said, I have 3 weeks of vacation saved up and I want to spend it on this NDP campaign. And so we really have some big heavy hitters in the community, some wonderful local artists, some activists, and some politicians as well that are helping us along.
And you mentioned unions earlier. The NDP was always the party of unions. We've seen that change a lot. We've seen the whole union spectrum change as well. There might not be as vocal as they have in the past. But what are your thoughts on that as far as union supports? And certainly we know the provincial candidate was a union activist for the teachers. So what kind of unions are still active in politics today that you might be aware of?
Oh, unions still have such a big power play. They're wonderful. And without unions, we would not have so much. We would not have a minimum wage. We would not have the ability to go on maternity leave. So I think it's important that their voices are still part of the conversation. I'm proud to say that I'm endorsed by the Peterborough and District Labour Council, and we will be talking to a lot more unions as we go. And I think when we look at documents that they're putting out, like the Working Together, the CLC, the Canadian Labour Council, put out a platform on the 24th that was calling all parties to align themselves with their values. And when you look at that, things like protecting renters, things like investing in rural infrastructure, things like investing in healthcare so that workers, don't have to take all their sick days because they're ill. All of these things you'll see echoed in the NDP platform. So I think there's a strong alignment there.
And early in the interview, you mentioned being a farmer in North Peterborough and east of Peterborough. It's kind of hard scrabble land there, so it makes it extra tough for being a farmer. What do you see as the future of agriculture and how the NDP would support that to ensure that we do have local farms? And I think there's great opportunities for buy local, but what are your thoughts on that as a candidate? And I'm just curious, is farming got a future in the Peterborough area?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Farming has a strong future here in the Peterborough region. I think farming, again, we need to remember that farming is very diverse. We have startup farms, we have intergenerational farms, we have corporate farms. So make sure that you talk to your farmers and get to know them and support them in the ways that they can be supported the best.
And I talked about the north, but the south, Otonabee, South Monaghan's back in the fold of the riding. So we know there's some verdant farms there.
That's right.
Hey, so Heather, we just have about 30 seconds left. If after this campaign you're not the successful candidate, what would be your plans? What would you be doing on a daily basis?
I am very invested in this community. So you will still see me on the streets. You will still see me involved in the community, building grassroots organizing together. You will see me on the farm, building that farm business up. And you will see me working to support small businesses.
And that's something we can all use. And I do have to ask you one last question. Is the Warsaw Flyer still in play?
The
bus that used to come in. No.
Oh, the bus. No, I don't think so.
Anybody from Warsaw, I got to bring up the Warsaw Flyer. You used to bring workers into Peterborough, actually.
They did. And there was a bus system from Lakefield, I remember, catching as a student. The link is still going, connecting Curve Lake, which I'm really glad to see.
Awesome. Well, nice to meet you, Heather. I'm glad you can share some time and thoughts with our audience, and wish you all the best on the campaign.